Hey everyone.
Morning.
All right. I think we can get started.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hi guys. In Jude style, I guess welcome to the April 4th meeting of the blockchain team. Let me share my screen really quick. Great. Okay. So, all right, let's just get started with the mainnet chicken. So Walker has a note.
Yeah, I've been just curious about this. I see zero microblocks mined for days on end. I haven't looked back to see how far back that goes, but so I was just curious if anyone has views on is this just a side effect of all miners running with microblocks disabled, or something has happened recently that has prompted that change, or could this be like an accidental side effect of some other change with 2.1 activation? I don't really have a good explanation, and I wanted to bring it to this group's attention and see if people have theories.
I've seen fewer or zero microblocks even before 2.1 activation, right around when the MetaBoys mint was happening. That's when I noticed, but I don't have a hypothesis for that.
Sorry, I was just going to ask real quick, how are folks checking to see if microblocks are being mined or not mined?
I'm just looking on the Explorer.
Got it. So there's a pathological case where there could be microblocks mined, but if they're sent out of order in a certain cadence, then the API will basically just ignore them and until the next anchor block comes in, and then you'll basically see it retroactively fill them in. So I guess in real time, you wouldn't see them if that was happening, but you would see them historically. But yeah, Aaron, you were saying something.
Oh, yeah. I think that one thing we can do is just sort of check node logs to see whether or not they're receiving microblocks, and microblocks just aren't being confirmed, or not. If we're not receiving any microblocks, then yeah, that means the miners are all running with microblocks disabled.
Yeah, I do see some microblocks, actually, now that I'm going back in the block history. So it's not zero all the way, but there's definitely very few microblocks getting mined.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, there might be yeah, there might be like a slight configuration issue, simply because like there was that somewhat like live lock bug
Yeah.
that was fixed shortly before 2.1 activated.
Yep.
It was only really fixed for anchor blocks.
Mm.
So that could also be driving a lower microblock mining rate. Would require a bit of investigation, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like there's definitely like something like I think the miner configurations are pretty sensitive to changes and maybe have accidental repercussions that we don't fully grasp. And I suspect something like that has happened. So, okay, good to know. And then, Pavitra, I just put in the link to the forum post here, as I imagine that this would be a good topic for discussion as well. just to give everyone sort of an update on where things are, what's happening next.
Great. Yeah. So yeah, Jude posted a forum post about the Bitcoin MEV issue. And so basically that forum thread kind of got a bunch of comments, and then the conversation kind of started to include another like type of issue that we've seen on the network, which is like a bit of a higher reorg rate than we would like. So then basically what happened is we wanted to kind of like separate the two issues, orphan blocks, Bitcoin MEV. So that's what I did in this post. And just to give, I don't know if everyone's caught up on these issues, but basically just like the status of like the work on each one, Bitcoin MEV. We have like a timeline for that, and we have research going on underway to figure out like kind of a good way to change the mining incentives such that we disincentivize this particular scheme. For the second issue, orphan blocks, there have been more reorgs in orphan blocks on the Stacks network in the past few months, which multiple community members have noticed and brought to our attention. So we've already shipped like a few small fixes, hoping that that would fix the issue, and it ended up not impacting it too much. So the next steps for this issue are do network diagnostics. So that might mean running some miners with some different settings and seeing how those miners behave, and trying to get those diagnostics in a more methodical way is kind of the next idea, and also encouraging more miner diversity. So that's kind of where these two different like work things are. I also wrote a document if people are so inclined to understand a little bit more about the problems, the potential solutions, and the next steps. So yeah. Does anyone have comments on this right now? Or do we want to maybe circle back in the discussion? Either is okay.
Let's circle back.
Great. Okay. Testnet check-in?
I think Dean is out today, right, Sarah? Usually he does the test
Yeah.
and check-in.
He's out. Charlie, anything you have?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear testnet check-in. So no issues that I know of reported for testnet. Everything seems to be syncing and progressing fine right now.
Great. So yeah, let's do issues. Alrighty. So okay. Yeah. I think we're pretty much caught up then. It doesn't look like there's too many new things. I can close this out because I did this. All right. Yeah, this is kind of the only one that. Aaron, you want to briefly discuss this, or do you think this is an async thing?
I think this is fine to do async. I mean, I can kind of summarize the issue. If anyone has played around very much in the Stacks blockchain code base, they're probably aware that there's kind of two different coding styles regarding sort of the placement of structs versus their implementations. So in portions of the chain state module, typically struct definitions end up in mod.rs files, and then their implementations end up elsewhere. Whereas in the Clarity portions of the code base and sort of elsewhere, like the Stacks node portion, implementations typically live near the structs. It's just kind of a coding style discussion. So people can comment on this async. I do think it's kind of important that people comment if you have feelings about this, just because we're going to do like an approximate weighting of votes and then move on. It's not that important of an issue though. So if you have feelings about it, weigh in. If you don't have feelings about it, don't. So cool.
I know Jeff has very strong feelings about this. He better
Yeah.
be all over this conversation.
Yeah, I mentioned I agree with Aaron here.
Great.
Great.
Discussion, let's coding style, comment there. Okay, great. That's like the only issue actually. So, oh, I'm also just gonna assign you as the owner. Great. Alrighty. Pull requests. This is frozen for now. Frozen. Jay Wiley, any updates on 3199?
No, I just need to do it. I've been extremely swamped with other work recently.
Yeah, that's fine. This is still draft, so I'm gonna ignore it. 3437 fuzz testing. 3478. That's frozen. Let's leave that alone. 350.
What?
Oh,
Sorry to interrupt, Pavi. Can we go back to the fuzz testing and hear from
Yeah.
Scott?
Yes, let's do that. All right, what's the update?
Scott, are you on the call?
I had to have Bryce help force push some changes to the branch to rebase it because I didn't have permission to access that for some reason. Since then, I've been working on getting the fuzz testing to actually try to report out more than just an exit code and a shell script. Once I have that working, I'm going to be looking at some AFL fuzzing stuff to try to actually test contracts from scratch. But I'm expecting to have some code to push out this afternoon that will have the changes I've made so far.
Okay, great. So it sounds like you need permissions. All right.
I think this was something weird. I don't know if this is a permissions issue. I just couldn't override his branch with a force push.
Oh, okay, that might be something else. All right, cool, that's fine. Okay, great. So hopefully we can get an update on this next week. This is frozen, the WASM, so I'll leave that alone. Update all cargo dependencies. Do you have an update on this, really?
I haven't looked at this one yet
Okay.
since we last discussed it.
Okay. These are all frozen. Okay, let's look at this one first. So this has 2 approvals. It looks like this can be merged, so I think what we'll do is try to merge this today.
Slight update on that. So I had Jeff make his code changes in another branch inside the repository so that a Docker image could be built from that and that I could deploy it in our cluster. So I've been running this with the updated Atlas configurations for the past couple of weeks or so. I'm not quite sure how to measure the attachment performance on this node compared to other nodes. But if we're looking to just have a base understanding of if this is safe or not, I could say that the node has been syncing and been keeping up along with the chain state, the chain tip just fine. So it doesn't seem to affect like regular syncing performance or operations in that regard. So if we're worried about like safety or things like that, or unexpected behavior. But if anyone has an idea on how we can verify attachment performance, I think that would be helpful in understanding if these configurations are having an effect.
Charlie, one question. Is this node attached to an API instance?
Yes.
Okay, then maybe we could see the attachments table on the API. That could be a little tricky, but basically the idea would be to see if attachments are getting replicated into the API from this node correctly.
Okay, cool. That's a good idea. I'll reach out to you offline.
Perfect.
Great. There's this one. Okay, yeah, so we did test these specific settings. Charlie?
Sorry. Yeah, the settings that were in the description.
Oh, wait, okay, so there's two different PRs here. Wait, let's just.
Yeah, I'm not. I think one of the PRs changes the default values in code, and
Right.
this one I think adds the ability to configure these values in the configuration.toml.
Yeah, this is Jeff here. My PR doesn't change the default values. It just makes them configurable and reads from the TOML file. Ludo's would change the default values. So we've tested, since Charlie's used the new default values, we've tested both of them so we can merge my PR and then Ludo's, I think.
So
in that
just
order.
to make sure we're on the same page, you ran the node with these as the default, like these as the values.
Correct. Yes.
Cool, good, great, okay. Okay, so I'm gonna write a note on that. Wait, let's see, is there already a note? Show the, okay, so this has been tested by, okay.
I would say that the testing is halfway done. Like,
Okay.
we've confirmed that like it didn't break the node, but we don't know yet if it affected the attachment performance in a positive way yet.
Is that work that we're planning on doing?
Yes, for sure. I'm gonna consult with Raphael and Jeff offline, and then we could update this ticket afterwards.
Alright. Alright, so this is ready to merge. Okay, already put that. Great. Update recommendation. I don't think the changes were made. Yeah, okay. This has been kind of inactive. Perhaps I will take over this. I can ask Reader.
Yeah, I think this is probably useful for somebody to just take over, because I think updating the docs is a useful thing to do. And
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll do it. Okay, I'll ask if I can take over. Alrighty. What's the update on this one? Oh, is it ready to merge, or do we have open comments? It looks like we have unresolved comments. Bryce? Is Bryce here?
No, I think Bryce is out this week.
Sorry,
Okay.
what was the question?
Oh, just like an update on this PR. It looks like
Ah.
there's some comments that are unresolved.
Yeah, he's out
Um,
this week.
Okay, we'll just, this just needs another round of update. But yeah. Okay, this is a draft. This person here. Franz Ferdinand.
Fernando is his name.
Fernando. Is Fernando here?
I don't see him, but
Okay.
can
Yeah,
forward
he's good last week.
presenting.
All right. So, okay. I think maybe we'll leave this for another week or two and then we can maybe take it over if he doesn't finish it.
Yeah,
Um,
so I can provide context on this. This is broken behavior for get burn block info that we are hoping to use the 2.2 release to provide the fix because it's a consensus breaking change.
mhm.
Mhm.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you can feel free to tag me as a reviewer on that PR, and I'll just like kind of comment on how to sort of shepherd
Great,
this through.
great. That's good.
Cool.
Excellent. Tag specification. Yeah, this is just docs. This could use a review this week. So yeah. Let me add a reviewer. Who wants to review this? Wow. I'm just gonna tag people. And a third person. Anyone you want to volunteer? Maybe Jeff.
Yeah, I'll volunteer.
How about so you drinker?
Was that Scott? Did I hear Scott?
Yes.
Great, I added you. Wonderful. Okay. Does anyone want to give a description of this PR?
Yeah, so I think this is a new feature for the RPC interface where it adds an RPC endpoint that serves block receipts on request. So currently we just inform block receipts through the event observer interface. But if the event observer like has missed a block receipt or whatever, hasn't logged block receipts, they can use this endpoint to query historic ones. This seems like it could potentially be a useful feature, but I haven't seen a ton of discussion around this so far. But if this person is excited to kind of work on this kind of thing, yeah, I think we should probably engage with the PR a little bit.
Yeah, maybe we can say hello. I can do this.
Cool.
Yeah.
It is kind of a significant change, just because it's going to dramatically increase the storage requirements for the node.
Do you have a guesstimate of how much it would increase?
I would say probably 50%.
Oh, that's a lot.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So currently we're roughly around 70 gigabytes. So that would push us to about 115, 120.
That would be my guess. Yeah.
Is that like a acceptable amount to you, Erin?
I mean, I would say it would be a showstopper to enable by default, certainly,
Oh, I
or
see.
to not be
Yeah.
configurable.
I was just gonna
Actually
say, it'd be
think-
awesome with a flag to turn it on if some people wanted it.
Yeah. I actually think Charlie or Matt and Raphael might have a better guesstimate than just my gut guesstimate, because you guys do this with like a TSV file, right? Where you like cache the event replay data, right?
Yeah, that's right. So the full event payload would be huge. I think it'd be probably a lot more than 50%, but If he's trying to do something equivalent to EVM get logs, that would be returning what we call in Clarity contract print events. So that would be quite a bit smaller, right? And it sounds like he's talking about storing the whole event, but I'd have to look at the PR.
Matt,
We
would you?
should just ask them in the PR. You know, in their tests, how much space does it add?
Okay. Yeah, I can ask, I guess, in my comment. All right. Okay, cool. Yeah, if it's configurable. Great. Oh, wait. Great. So finish issues and PRs. Let's get into the discussion now. So first one, we have a new face at the Stacks Foundation, Mark. So Mark, if you want to just like say like a few words about yourself, that would be nice.
Yeah, sorry, a bit of a split focus. Now, what did you want me to introduce?
Sorry,
Oh,
I think that
no.
was for Mark, not Martin.
Not for you.
Sorry.
Fine.
I thought you
was
switched sides, Martin. For a minute, I
I
was
mean-
panicking.
Martin can keep going, you know, I'm happy to hear him speak.
I don't think Mark is on this meeting. He is like not here. So that's fine. We'll do it next time, but he's our new security engineer.
Yes, I can speak a little bit about Mark. You know, I'll let him introduce himself next time, but he is our new security engineer. His main focus will be the blockchain itself, and then other things blockchain related. So like CI process, he'll be looking at flood testing and working with other security engineers, you know, in the ecosystem to try to shore things up overall for us.
Awesome.
Yep. Great. So yeah, we'll say hi properly next time. But yeah, for now can move on. So the next topic is meeting day and time. We had a little bit of a discussion about this yesterday in Discord. Based on the discussion, it seemed like this is an okay time for most people. And I know the discussion started just from a confusion from the calendar event, but does anyone actually feel like we should be moving this meeting?
Go ahead, Joelle.
No, you were first.
I was going to say, I don't think the meeting needs to change. If it's working for people, that's great. I just want to maybe quickly check a line on the plans. And this is a question for maybe Igor or anyone from Trust Machines. I recall the discussion was that, you know, we'll have kind of these separate calls for SBTC. And then once 2.1 launches, maybe we'll kind of consolidate the calls. Right now, it seems like we're kind of planning to, the SBTC calls are planning to just continue at least for the foreseeable future. And I think my only, not worry necessarily, but I think we should all be kind of aware that that there is a little bit of separation that's getting created. And I worry that the discussions in this meeting and the discussions in the SBTC meeting, they aren't like connecting as frequently as they could be or should be. And so I just wanted to mention that here and hear from Igor, like, is there a desire to converge at some point or kind of keep them separate for the foreseeable future? And, you know, how should we proactively try to guard against creating more silos accidentally in the process?
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on this, especially given that SBTC is really part of the blockchain, in my view. And even though that the code is being developed in the Trust Machines repository, it will the intention is that it will be merged into the Stacks network kind of org. And so we don't want to dump code and leave, right? That's the least thing that we want to do. The meetings, Martin has done a great job at cutting them in half, actually. So now we meet on Mondays and Friday for half an hour. And the following half an hour is more kind of collaboration time, but we're compressing that. And the meetings were initially done on Monday and Friday per suggestion of Munib, so that we can just keep, have a Monday meeting be, what we're doing this week, and then Friday kind of what got done. So that's why we have those meetings on Monday and Friday. But everyone from the SBTC Eng team attends this meeting today. So I would say we can use this time to surface, like discuss, we could have a SBTC kind of knowledge sharing or, updates, right? We also do written weekly updates, but we can be more, present as well and answer questions. But I think we're reserving the Monday and Friday meetings for execution, whereas here we could discuss open issues such as security with Scott and Mark, right? And perhaps other things that are more design level, right? But also important to not keep track of the code because, we need to have an orderly handover, right? When this happens.
So the reason I added this discussion item is yesterday there was a little confusion about when the meeting was. And it may have just been a misunderstanding, but I heard that some people wanted it on Monday and then some people needed it on Tuesday because of SBTC, for example. But what I'm hearing today is that Tuesday at this time is the preferred time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, it is. I think yesterday's conflict was a scheduling snafu when the switch
Well,
happened.
Yeah, I think I
created.
know why.
Yeah.
And this is where my confusion was. So I think we'll plan to keep it on this day at this time. The calendar event is the problem. It's not updating the way we expect it to. So I'm going to speak with Mitchell about that, see if we can have it auto update if the time does change in the future. So I think Devakar mentioned that his automatically reverted back to Monday yesterday, and that shouldn't have happened. So it sounds like just a little confusion on everyone's part, and we'll see what we can do about that for the event calendar.
Alrighty.
And I want to say that I invited Mark, so we can give him a chance to introduce himself.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
One thing I would add is the SBTC meetings sometimes I think can move a little bit faster because they're not looking at kind of like everything happening in the blockchain. But I absolutely agree that with time there's going to be this disconnect between everybody else who's on this meeting and not on the SBTC meeting. So we should actively try to bridge that gap. And the second, since I'm talking now, there are two other things on my mind that I just want to share. The other is I think a similar thing might happen for the faster blocks working group. And I do think as that starts kicking off, maybe it's a similar dynamic where you might want a smaller group that wants to move faster, but this bigger meeting needs the updates. And I joined 5 minutes late, so maybe you guys have already discussed this, but any updates on the orphan blocks issue would be very, very appreciated. I'm getting some pings about it, so I'll just have more info to report back.
Yeah, we'll discuss that like next, but basically.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So yeah, just really quick before we get into that discussion, Mark, do you want to just say hi to the team? I think he joined.
Yep. Sorry about that. Zoom was giving me some permissions issues. So yeah, I will actually unfortunately have to drop in about 30 seconds. So I'll make this really quick. My name is Mark Renitsky. I'm currently now the security engineering lead for the foundation. I was poached last week from Disney, where I led the penetration testing program for one of Disney's major divisions. So yeah, my background is mostly in the offensive security side of the house, breaking things, stealing funds, all the other joys that we deal with in the crypto world. But yeah, I've been in the space or crypto, or not the crypto space, the security space since I was 14. I've been doing this for nearly 20 years. This is my lifeblood, what I do. It's what I was born to do. So long story short, pleasure to meet everyone. Fortunately, again, I will have to be dropping again soon. But if you ever have any security questions or just want to shoot the shit for a while, feel free to hit me up. My email is mark@stacks.org, and my handle on Discord is stackssec, SEC, at 9883. So just hit me up at any point. So take it easy, everybody. And thanks for the intro.
Thank you, Mark. That was very speedy. Great. Okay, so now we can discuss the forum post and the orphan blocks issue. So I know that Erin, you did some Excel sheet analysis. Would you care to share? Is that like a good place to start the discussion?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. I would say that the spreadsheet is probably not quite ready for just like public sharing, just because it's got like unfiltered comments in it from people that probably didn't expect them to be shared widely. But yeah, so I commented on the GitHub discussion about like sort of how you can get at this kind of data. Basically, it's just like a dump of all the block winners for various burn blocks over time. And like looking at what's going on, it does seem that there was definite miner contention over the past 2000 blocks at like a higher rate than we've been seeing previously. There were a couple instances of deep-ish reorgs where a miner was basically producing a block that was like 5 blocks lower in height than the latest chain tip, which is a deeper reorg than we'd seen previously. And this like kind of spanned like a 10 to 20 block period where there were like 2 forks competing with each other. So that's sort of what anybody could have seen just like looking at an explorer. And then thinking about like what's going on, I think this is like mentioned a bit in the forum post, but it does seem that there's like maybe a couple groups of different miners that have been contending with each other a little bit. It's hard to say exactly what is driving the contention between the mining groups, whether it's network issues, whether or not it's like configuration issues. Looking at like block arrival times, there's no like clear indicator one way or the other. It could be also that, one of the mining pools is just either configured poorly or configured to like favor their own blocks up to some limit. But again, it's hard to tell exactly what's going on. I do think that sort of more miner heterogeneity, so just like more miners getting involved would improve the situation. Like if we just sort of like look over time, it does seem like certain sort of like coalitions of miners like have increased the proportion of blocks that they're winning. And during times when they've increased the proportion of blocks that they're winning, it does seem like reorg rates have gone up. So if their proportion of won blocks goes down, I think that the reorg rate will go down. Yeah, that's sort of the state of things that from what I can see of what's going on.
Jesse, do you want to update the group on our discussion yesterday?
I don't have anything to add. We're still collecting data. We're looking at the P2P debug logs currently. I know Pravito is going to be looking into that shortly. But outside of that, we're just collecting data.
And what about us putting a ping service on with some of these to try to correlate it with?
It's possible, but again, that
okay.
just goes into the overarching idea of collecting more data.
Oh, okay, sorry. I
so
just didn't
there's
want to go
still-
into that detail.
Yeah, there's still a lot of work to do.
Okay. Mhm.
We have to figure out how to do it before we actually say we're going to do it.
Mhm.
So I don't want to say what we're going to do and then have to change it next week,
Fair enough. The audience is bigger here, so we'll have to
Yeah.
filter the work. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
Thank you.
so the
Yeah.
takeaway from it is we are going to be collecting data. What that data is, we're not exactly sure yet, but we will share once we have more information.
So Aaron, earlier we thought that if we basically just delay commits by some other miners, that might help. It seems like that's not going to help.
I think it might help some. So like if you look at like the like on some of the nodes that Hero runs, you can see the block arrival time and then basically the burn block time. Like, so the burn block time tells you when the Bitcoin block was mined that would select a given stacks block. And then the block arrival time and block process time tells you what's the quickest that a stacks node could have like possibly discovered that block and also started building on top of it. And the like average delta between those two, if you look at our node logs, which maybe are faster than other people's node logs, but if you look at your own node logs, you can kind of see. But the average that I've seen is around 80 seconds. And like the default value for the amount of time that a node waits before issuing its first commitment is like 30 seconds. So theoretically, that default is bad. But like we're not seeing a 50% reorg rate, which is like kind of what that would imply. So I think that there's enough sort of slowness in the node and other mechanisms that prevents miners from immediately mining 30 seconds after a Bitcoin block is produced. But I do think maybe if people stretched that out to like 90 seconds of waiting before they committed a block, that would improve the reorg rate some. But again, like even in those cases, you wouldn't really expect to see like a 5 deep reorg, just because like, yeah, I think that a node should have been able to receive a block by that time. If they haven't, then that's probably like a network configuration bug on their end.
I'm assuming this mining service is on a very bad network connection, and also they don't upgrade the nodes. So even if other people upgrade, they're not going to upgrade, right? So they will still be running on the old version until some major upgrade. I guess they did upgrade to 2.1 eventually.
Yeah, they did upgrade to 2.1 because like all of this is happening with 2.1 block commits.
I think long term there are like tons of solutions we can talk about in terms of how even the chain tip is selected or blocks are orphaned, because we are kind of like doing a major upgrade anyway with the faster block stuff with the Nakamoto release. So I'm not concerned about that. I think that we can pick up separately, but any short-term things to improve the health is pretty important.
Yeah, I would say like in the short term, from what I can tell, the biggest wins would be just like trying to get more miners involved. Because I do think that like the only reason that this 5 block fork was like able to advance was because they won like 6 blocks in a row. And so if there was like more minor heterogeneity, that like wouldn't happen. Like if they got that far behind the chain tip through their network misconfiguration or whatever, like if they got that far behind the chain tip, like the chain would just progress without them.
Sure.
So yeah.
It's helpful.
Great. Does anyone have any other comments? Would people like to discuss the Bitcoin NAV issue at all? Okay.
Maybe an update on how that on the time frame and
Right.
whether-
So the time frame for that, the current one is that research should conclude around 4/21. So that would include like a different mining incentive scheme on the Stacks network, as well as like analysis corresponding to it. So yeah, that's the current next date.
Is the activation still reasonable? The one when we had, I think, Memorial Day?
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
the research is happening at the exact thing that I predicted. So
Great.
at the moment, things are on track. And then so as soon
Yes.
as we have the research done, obviously we're going to start the engineering work immediately. So there's that.
Yeah, I suspect here the challenge will be it will be on the comms and getting the upgrades to go quickly
Mm.
because this is kind of an unexpected thing, right? Like 2.1, it was a lot of months of planning, but not sure what it takes for everyone to upload, especially kind of big companies, right?
Mm.
We might need to get in there on their schedules like now. That's what I think.
Any other discussion items? All right. It looks like we can end early potentially. Give you guys back 12 minutes. All right.
Awesome.
See you guys around.
Yep.
Bye.
See you around.